Hey guys, what's up? Alibaba just released earnings, and guys, FYI, I'm traveling, which is why you can't see me in my studio. However, let's just go through the release because I know you guys look forward to these when Alibaba does report. And so this is the first look. And so as you can see, overall, Alibaba has not moved throughout the year. And that's really because there hasn't been much news, especially the news that we've all been waiting for, which is how are they going to break out the company as a at least pointed to a couple of quarters ago. And so, overall, the company still remains approximately a $200 billion organization, which is a point that becomes relevant later on in this call. And this is the old view of Alibaba. But the reason why I want to point this out is because it's just a good way of illustrating exactly what at least I was looking for. So the first area is, in this release is what is happening with cloud. Are they making any progress? And unfortunately, the answer is that not only are they not making progress, but things are actually getting worse for the segment. And I'll dive into that a little bit more. And then the other area is, there's a lot of news going back and forth about whether China is recovering or not. And I think the results of Alibaba are a really good barometer as to what's happening in the country. And so I'm very interested in understanding exactly what's happening in the Taobao Tmall group. The other issue is that I want to know what the update is for Fresh Hippo's IPO, because they did mention that they wanted to complete that at least within 12 months. I might be mistaken there. And so just wanted to understand what that was. Obviously, as well, cloud was supposed to be spun off. And once again, I don't think they've said that they're not going to do it. And I'll dive into that a little bit more. And then the other story was overall year to date, we've been having a good news story with international. And so I just wanted to see how that was going as well. So overall, headline is that the company did increase its revenues by 9% year over year. That's ahead of what I was modeling. I'm modeling around a 7.5%, but it's not that much higher. And we're only halfway into this year. And so it could turn backwards as well. Also, Q1 was a huge year over year increase, but of course, it had good comps. So now we're getting into the meat of it a little bit. And so the next 2 quarters are going to be very pivotal for Alibaba to show whether or not the company's growing or not. And the first area that I wanted to look at was the update on the group spinoffs and potential capital raising. And you can see that right off the bat, they said that with cloud, they are no longer proceeding with the spinoff. And what they're saying is that due to the recent expansion of US restrictions on the export of chips, it's creating uncertainties for the business. And so they are not spinning it off. But what that really tells me is that they do not have a good news story to spin for the cloud business overall. And so when it comes to forecasting out the cloud's revenues, I think you would be prudent to even start forecasting a slight decline in the revenue. I would say keep the profitability or the adjusted EBITDA relatively flat. So overall, it's not costing the business anything, but basically zero contribution should be expected from the cloud business. Now, for all of you guys who've been watching this channel for a long time, that's exactly how we've been forecasting Alibaba Cloud. So there's no change, at least in the way that I'm modeling it. Probably not for the way many of you guys are modeling it, but this is unfortunate. Now with Cineao, it looks like they have applied for their IPO. Recall, Alibaba is going to maintain a greater than 50% ownership of this business. So this is just spinning off a minority shareholder position. And then, of course, with Fresh Hippo, they were looking to spin this one off. This is a business that I'm really excited about, but I think because China could potentially be slowing down, I think now is probably not the time to IPO this business, and I would agree with that approach. I never understood why they even wanted to spin off Fresh Hippo. I believe it's a jewel that they own, and it's a fast-growing, future-focused retail operation, and I just think it makes a lot of sense for Alibaba to hold on to it. Now, here's some interesting news for you guys. Alibaba is actually beginning to pay out a dividend, so you will get $1 per ADS, which on the current share price reflects approximately 1%, 1.2% yield. So it's nothing crazy, but it is something. And that dollar for a lot of us will actually bring down our loss on the position. So well deserved or well needed. But really what this is they have a lot of capital on their balance sheet, and it's good that they're looking to sort of get rid of some of that capital or deploy some of it if there aren't investment opportunities in China or globally. This will reflect around a $2.5 billion payment. So you can see how they can actually increase their dividend as time goes forward. But I think it's prudent to just start with a dollar and then go from there. And now, before I get into the results, I do want you guys to let me know what you think about them paying a dividend in this environment. I would think that purchasing more shares would probably be the best move, considering that their share price is so undervalued. But I think what they're really trying to do here is draw in an income investor base, which could help shore up the value of the company's securities. You guys let me know what the thinking is behind that dividend, because I always think it's prudent to buy back shares and buy back shares aggressively when the share price is as under its intrinsic value as Alibaba's share price has been over the last few years. And now, just going into the results of the segments, you can see that the Taobao Tmall group, this is worrying me a little bit, because this is the cash cow of the business. This is where all the money is made, and the year-over-year change is only 3%. So if the year-over-year change is only 3%, then what is the look through for the next 2 quarters? I think that there's potential that this segment underperforms the expectation that it was expected to grow at around 7.5%. So this is concerning, something we need to watch, and it would be very interesting to hear what they have to say about this segment. Why did it only grow by 3%? Just the customer management part of it. Overall, it grew by 4%, but not a huge difference. The shining story for Alibaba continues to be the Southeast Asia business. That's Lazada, and then that's Trendyol. And so, the fact that it's up 53% shows that they're continuing to win in the area. And really what's happening is they've expanded reach and they've expanded monetization. And so I expect that to continue, but I am definitely not modeling in, 50% year over year growth. So they're just ahead of where I'd expect them to be. And so we'll just have to take that into account in the model. I don't expect this to continue at this rate for a long time going forward. Now, cloud, based on what they're saying about the cloud business and how they're less competitive due to the chip restrictions, I would say that, a 2% year over year growth is probably a good news story. I would expect this thing to start declining, especially if their offerings are not competitive on a global basis. We will see what happens with cloud, but I'm just concerned that it's no longer a competitive business. And so, interesting news overall. So, I would love to hear what they have to say about the business. And recall, guys, I mentioned that the approximate market cap of the whole company is around 200, maybe $220 billion. You can see that the company is sitting on a huge cash pile. So that $2.5 million that they're looking to pay out with dividends is just a drop in the bucket of what they have access to, just in terms of cash and short-term investments. Once you throw on the equity, securities, and other investments, note that some of these are not as liquid as you would think that they are. So you can't liquidate this as quickly as possible. But just as a high-level exercise, you can see that just adding these three items together, it sort of reflects approximately 50% of the overall market cap. So that's really the compelling story of the valuation of Alibaba. But of course, if China's depressed or the economy is slowing, then you have a really tough proposition here. So I understand why investors are pricing Alibaba shares at the current share price. I just disagree based on the current information, but I, of course, can be wrong, which is why we diversify accordingly. And so overall, I haven't changed the model yet, but you can see that, cloud might have to be revisited. This 10% growth year over year beyond 2026, it just doesn't look like that's realistic anymore. So this is going to have to come down. The other thing I'm really worried about is China commerce retail. Is it actually going to grow at 7.5% this year? I don't know, especially considering this last quarter, we are only up 3%. So really got to do some soul searching with respect to how to grow this segment out. I'm thinking maybe change that to around 5%. I'm not sure, even 5% might be aggressive. So we'll see how to do that. International, I might just take up because they've had such a good year. Of course, leave 2025 at around the same number, but just take up 2024. So, overall, I think total revenue growth might actually come down maybe to around 5% in 2024, which is what I would forecast. And then, I don't know what visibility looks like into fiscal 2025. Maybe bring that around 5% as well, and then ticker it up a little bit more. So I don't know. I try to sit on the conservative side, and I think that now, previously I thought this model was conservative, but I think now it might be slightly aggressive or pretty or probably like somewhat in line with where they're actually going to end, but I rather forecast a little bit lower than where they're actually going to end, just because you never know what can happen. There's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And of course, I will update the model and have it available as soon as possible. And so if you guys want access to the Alibaba model and all the other models that the patrons get access to, you can join us at the lower tier. And if you want to join us for an epic live presentation every month, you can join us at that higher tier. And so overall, that is what I think about Alibaba's release, especially just in this first look. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later.